Janesville. Welcome to Park Place Views, brought to you by the City of Janesville and JATVMedia Services. I'm Molly Nolte, and I'm the Management Information Specialist in the City of Janesville Manager's Office. This monthly program aims to keep Janesville residents informed by highlighting the people, places, events, and partners in the City of Janesville. On last month's episode, we talked with City of Janesville Recreation Director Shelley Slapak and learned about all of the exciting recreational opportunities available this summer. Today, newly re-elected Janesville City Council President Douglas Marklein is here to talk about his position with Janesville City Council. Doug has served on City Council since 2013 and is beginning his second term as Council President. Doug has a degree in Construction Administration from UW-Madison with a real estate emphasis. When he's not busy with the City Council duties, Doug is the co-owner of Marklein Builders. Thank you for being here today, Doug.
It's my pleasure, Molly. Thank you very much for inviting us, or me.
Now, Doug, you've lived in Janesville since you were 2 years old. In your opinion, how has Janesville changed since you were young?
Not very much.
Not much
We
at all.
still have the great neighborhoods and the wonderful people, great work ethic, our crime rate is low, our schools are fantastic, and so it hasn't really changed as a city. We're still a small city that doesn't feel small but doesn't feel real big, and we have wonderful neighborhoods. Some things have changed, less and less mom and pop operations. We would like to see more of that. We've got, in a good way, we're more diverse. Our people and our citizens are come from many different backgrounds. And unfortunately, it also brings a little bit more poverty. I think we've got a lot more people living, barely making it through in our city than we've ever had in the past. And we're growing, we're getting more chains. But all in all, I think the city is really, at the heart, very similar to what it was when I was growing up.
Okay. So what made you interested in running for City Council?
Well, my wife and I watch TV together. Our two favorite shows are Jeopardy and the City Council, and my wife would always say, Doug, you could be on either one of those. Well, the odds of getting on Jeopardy are slim. But the City Council, we thought, you know, there's things that we could do. Watching what was happening over the 5 years previous to that, we were in a horrible slump in the city. But it also seemed like the City Council didn't want to move forward. Everything kept getting pushed back, partially because we didn't have the finances, but also there didn't seem to be a will to move forward. So my wife and I decided that this would be an opportunity to give back to the community. And so I put my hat in the ring. Little did I know that soon after I did, that the city manager, the existing one, Eric Levitt, would retire, and we would have to be faced with hiring a new city manager. So it was that was the reason that we ran, was to help move the city forward and give back.
Good. So you've been on the council since 2013.
Yes.
In your opinion, what is your biggest accomplishment since then?
Well, I just alluded to it. Getting into it was we needed to hire a city manager, and I think the biggest accomplishment that I could say that we did was the seven of us sat down, figured out what we wanted the city to look like in 5 years, where we wanted it to go, what were we looking for the city, and then what would we be looking for in a city manager to realize that vision. And our vision was to look at the downtown, to look at our infrastructure, to get more businesses to come to town and move things forward. And so I think our biggest accomplishment was hiring Mark Freitag.
And on the other hand, what do you think your biggest challenge has been?
Biggest challenge in Janesville is not unique to Janesville, and that is the difference between communication and miscommunication. There's so little common ground that people are working toward common grounds. We see groups working away from the center in one extreme or the other, and trying to communicate to them in this era where we have all these different ways of communication, but no one source that you can go to. I think people have a tendency more and more to believe what they want and disregard the rest. And that's a challenge that's not just unique to Janesville, but it makes getting a consensus very difficult.
Well, congratulations on your recent re-election as council president. What do you look forward to during this next year of service?
Basically, maintaining what we have and looking forward and planning for the future. One of the things that we started 5 years ago was a moving forward 5-year plan that would re-up each year and then review what we did in the past. And so we have a plan. We want to work that plan as best we can. And we also want to be ready to any unforeseen circumstances that come by, be ready to deal with it. But the City Council pretty much sets the policy and does the planning, and we allow the administration to implement that plan. So it's basically monitoring, planning, and whatever they put in front of us, we'll deal with.
And as a council member and council president, you also serve on some committees.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about those committees and why they interest you?
My first committee that I applied for was way back in the late 90s. It was zoning, the zoning board. I'm very familiar with the planning department in my profession, home building, so we would go up there a lot, and I was very familiar with going with people to get a variance. And I thought the system was pretty good. I didn't understand exactly how it worked, but I also said, you know, so many times they have people on the board that just read the party line, you know, whatever the staff recommends, that's what they do. And being on the other end, I would get frustrated sometimes. And I said, you know, we can find a consensus. We got common goals. Somebody's trying to improve the city for the most part. Let's see if we can make it work. And we did. And I really enjoyed the zoning board. Then family kind of came, so I took a couple years off. And then I put my name in for the Plan Commission for the same reason. It's what I do, plan and do that. And I said there'll be a few conflicts of interest that I'd have to abstain myself. Surprisingly, very few. But when we bring something forward, I have to sit back. And that's been very rewarding. I really enjoyed doing that. Being on the council president kind of tells you where to go. And so I spent time on community development with Jennifer Petrosello and her wonderful staff. Learned a lot about the problems that comes with trying to monitor these grants and the frustrations and working with Washington, and also the pleasures of helping our community, especially those that are less fortunate. Also spent time, right now I just got assigned to the Sustainability Committee, which I think will be very interesting because the goals are good, but you have to make sure that we're not infringing on people's property rights when you tell them what they can and cannot do with their property and that. So it's always a learning experience, and I really enjoy it.
Do you think your perception of city government has changed since you've been on the council?
Sort of. Once again, it's what we talked about before this. I believe what I want to believe, and I'll disregard what I don't want to believe. And we've always had people that were big civic boosters, that whatever you did was great, you know, and they don't even question it. And then you've always had people that said, no, change is horrible. We don't want to change. We like it the way it was. In fact, we wish we could turn the clock back to 20 years ago when we were little and the city was wonderful, which it wasn't. Every time has problems and you just do the best you can. So it's very, very difficult to find this common ground. I wish more people would work, find out what goals we share, build on that, and then address the side issues rather than the quick, I don't like it, it's not going to work, don't want to do it.
Well, you obviously think that being involved is very important. How can other people, especially the younger generations, get involved with their city?
Get involved. That's the key word. You don't have to start at the top. I don't think city council is the top, but it's up there. Pay your dues. Get involved. If you've got kids in school, get involved with the school system, the PTA. If you're a young person and there's an activity or a sports or a hobby that you like, get involved with that. If you don't know what you want, look at these civic groups, Aquinas, the Rotary Club, Optimist Club. Get involved with those clubs, work on it. Be active in the community. If you see something where there's an event going on, be an attendee. And maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. But at least you're out there, you're looking around. Eventually you'll find something that you really enjoy and follow your passion on that. And that's any age, not just young. And then, like I did, you know, when we do in the early part of the year, when we advertise for civic community groups, they could be on committees or volunteer, put your name in. You know, you've kind of built up a little resume of your volunteer activities. You know how to work well with people, and you know how to listen, you know how to shut up. That's all these life skills that you can bring to the table.
How much time would you say you spend each week working on council-related activities?
You ask my wife too much. If you ask me, not enough. It varies. Right about now, the meetings there's not that much to do, so we probably spend 2 hours or 3 at the meeting, and probably about the same amount of time preparing for it. And then there's meetings during the week that you go to that eat up another hour or two. And when we get to budget time, it's a little bit more intense. Or if we've got a big project, it takes up more. But you can kind of figure about 6 to 8 hours a week on the average.
Okay. And how can people in the community stay informed about what's happening in their city government?
Oh, there's so many options. First off, listen, go to a coffee shop, eavesdrop on people talking about it, read the paper. We are so lucky in Janesville that we not only have a newspaper and a radio, but they're independent and they're locally owned. That's just huge, you know. Take advantage of those resources. The city has a website. The city of Janesville has a Facebook page. They do Nixle, Twitter, and other things that I don't know what they are, but they're out there for whatever social media that you enjoy, and try that. And watch the council meetings on JATV, and not a plug, but I mean, that's really how you can find out. And once again, just listen, learn, and educate yourself, and then make your own decisions on it.
If someone wanted to contact you or had questions for you, how could they do that?
Well, we have a city website that we can take email, and mine would be, I believe it's Marklein D, it's MARKLEIND at ci.janesville.wi.us. You can also send a message to all the city council members at once by just doing city council at ci.janesville.wi.us. And it's hard to remember, just think of City of Janesville, Wisconsin, USA, and it works out pretty well. So that's how to do it. You can also call 608-436-1428. Beware, I'm a little hard of hearing on the phone, so I can't always hear what you're trying to tell me, but I can usually figure it out.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And last but not least, what are you most excited about that's happening in the city of Janesville?
Oh God, how much time do we have? There's so many things that are happening, positive, and also things that we want to, you know, keep a close eye on. I think the downtown has got momentum, and we're not there yet by a long stretch, and there's going to be some growing pains as we go through. I think taking the Milwaukee Street Bridge out, which has been an eyesore ever since somebody crashed into it, being taken down and rebuilt will be truly exciting. It'll be a very hardship. That's one reason for the Court Street two-way. It's going to change our downtown, maybe not for the better on the short term. And then when that's done, because of the way you fund things in the world, as soon as that's done and new, we're going to close West Milwaukee Street and redo that. And so we've got about 2 to 3 years of major construction downtown. But at the same time, we got new businesses coming down there. We got a hotel that's promised to break down. The Great Lawn is coming. The fountain, you know, come down and see that. There's things in the park on Court Street Hill that are starting up real soon. So there's great things happening downtown. I think by the time this makes the thing, you can go and see the bike race. Mm-hmm. I think it's June 26th is the day. That'll be really kind of neat for that. The cruise nights are once a month on, I think it's the third Saturday. You can go down and watch all these nice old cars drive around downtown and see that. So the downtown is really good. We're getting more and more neat stuff happening on the east and the east side. A new hotel broke ground just recently, and the stores opening up in the old Menards took an eyesore and made it into, I think, a nice gateway to our city. It will be really good. You had last month you had on the recreation department, and I'm sure they had all these neat things that are happening in our city at the parks and the golf courses and activities throughout the senior center has all kinds of neat things that happen that are worth checking out. Problems we have, the south side needs a little boost, but it's going to come mainly from the private sector. All the city can do is set the stage and let them know that we're ready to work with somebody that has a great idea. And I don't think we would turn anybody down if they brought an idea and they had their funding in place. I think looking at the GM plant and first the slow demolition and then the rebirth of that area will be the top story for the next 10 years. I think that'll be really someplace where everybody is going to want to pay attention to it out of the curiosity and the interest in watching something come down that we've known to grow and be so comfortable with, and then to see the change and the transformation. It's sort of like a caterpillar, butterfly type of thing. And it'll take time. Nothing happens overnight, even though we're in a society where people like things to happen instantly. You get the idea, I want it done. Why is it taking so long? Well, things take long, to incubate on that. So we've got some things on that. Like to be able to do whatever we can for the opioid crisis in not just Janesville, all over. And I saw a sign on the way in here, we do have that sex trafficking, which is not unique to Janesville, but I believe it's here. It doesn't make a whole lot. So our police force is on top of it, but it's a hard problem to solve because you can't swat it here. If you swat it here, whack-a-mole, it comes up over here. And so we need to work on those. Those are some of our challenges to try to make this a better city that attract people to it. And that's the other thing that we don't talk about very often, but we hear a lot about cities paying money for TIFs to bring businesses to town. And why are we paying all this money to bring these businesses to town? Well, part of it is we want to get the jobs for people. But we're really competing, not again for businesses, we're competing to retain and attract people to Janesville. That's the secret to a city that's going to thrive over the next 20 to 25 years, and that's what we need to look at. We're investing in our downtown in things that we believe will attract people and keep them here and bring them here so they'll want to live in our city. We have the city of choice for life's opportunities or whatever our slogan is. That's the gist of it. And we need to follow that really hard and focus on that. And it's difficult for long-term residents of any age that have been here a long time to realize that we're not just focusing on the people that live here. We're trying to bring people here because you go up north and there's towns that are dying. They can't keep their young people in town. They're old people. Everything's getting gray and old, and they can't run their business anymore. They're too old to run their mom and pop business, and they can't find a buyer. And those towns are drying up, and you got to stay on top of that. You really got to work hard and make the investment now in your streets and in your infrastructure, and your parks and your amenities to keep people here so they don't say, this is a boring town, I want to move. I can't wait to get out of town. But you also want people to come here. And geographically, we're in a great location. We're close to Madison, Milwaukee, Chicago, Beloit. So that's really a nice selling point. But on this other side of the coin, people say, well, if we're that close, why don't we just live there? Why do we have to live in Janesville when we can live in Madison if we like that? Well, we've been blessed with really low cost of living. Our housing and our cost of living in Janesville is really low on every level. Our taxes are lower than most. Our costs are lower than most. And we believe what we offer as a package to attract people here is superior to none. And if it isn't, we're going to work on making it better. And that's really the goal.
Well, we're just about out of time. Do you have any closing thoughts for our viewers at home?
I think I just told you what my closing thoughts were. I appreciate everybody that pays attention and cares about our city. I think that's the biggest one. We have people that come to City Council on a regular basis and tell us their thoughts, and that's really good. They sometimes think they're not heard, but they are. We take those to heart. And on the other side of the coin, we are also blessed with a great city staff. When things come forward to the City Council, they've been pretty thoroughly vetted. In fact, sometimes I wish they would be not so good so that the City Council could look like they're dissecting it and changing it at the meeting, because there's not a whole lot that you can do because it's fairly well thought out and vetted before it ever came to us. So we're not rubber stamping, because we've already done the homework 5 years previous with our 5-year plan. This is where we want to go. These are our goals. And the staff has been really good at buying into this is the direction that the City Council and the city manager, and we believe the city wants to go into. And so they just, if something's not good, they don't bring it toward us, until it's ready. And so that's, how do you explain that to somebody that wants us to get in there and make it dirty, you know, and get controversy? You know, that sells papers, it makes radio shows more interesting, but it's not good for the city, is to have that needless do it. If it's needful, I mean, if it's constructive criticism, that is really invaluable, and that's what we're listening for. And a lot of times people will bring things in to meetings, and we're able to tweak it in the right direction or send it back to staff and say, hey, think this over a little bit more, and bring it back to us when you've incorporated these ideas that we've heard from the community. But at the end of the day, you got to pick A or you got to pick B, you know. Milwaukee Street and Court Street, one way, two way. It can't be both. It's either going to be one or the other. And the city council's direction to the staff and administration was, we think that the one-way streets are not what people are looking for in these days. People are looking for two-way streets. It's been proven that it makes downtowns more vibrant, more attractive, more pedestrian friendly, and it's different. It's a change, and that can be difficult for people. But the comments that we have, I think, were incorporated into those things and are making it better. So that would be my sermon of the day, is let us know what you think, but don't judge us to the fact that we don't sit there and micromanage at the council level of things that don't need to be micromanaged.
Thank you, Council President Marklein, for joining us today and allowing our viewers to get information about what it's like for you serving on the Janesville City Council and as the Council President. And thank you, viewers at home, for tuning in. On next month's episode of Park Place Views, we will be talking with the Janesville Fire Department Chief, Randy Banker. In addition to tuning into this program on a monthly basis, stay connected to the City of Janesville by following us on Facebook or Twitter. You can also sign up to receive emails with our press releases and other important information. And you can subscribe to get emergency alerts from the Janesville Police Department on Nixle. For Park Place Views and the City of Janesville, I'm Molly Nolte. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next month.